Sponsored by Canada Diagnostic Centres, offering MRI, X-ray, and ultrasound services in Calgary and Okotoks.
It has been 100 years since we first started using the term birth control, but many women are still struggling to find the right method for the right time in their lives. In honor of World Contraception Day on Friday, health specialist Leah Sarich is here with why we need to better understand all of the birth control options. You told us a little bit about this in the meeting yesterday. And some surprising facts.
Exactly. This was a really fascinating story for me for one fundamental reason. I spoke with Dr. Monga, the medical director of the Northeast Calgary Women's Clinic, and she made me realize we are presented with all of these birth control options, condoms, the pill, the patch, the ring, the IUD, as if they're all equal, when in fact they are absolutely not. Absolutely not. These methods have very different effectiveness rates that most people are just not aware of. For example, used typically, so this is typical use, not ideal use, how we use it in the real world. The pill has an 8% failure rate. Condoms have a 15% failure rate. Withdrawal, a 27% failure rate.
Okay.
Whereas the IUD, for example, less than 1% failure rate. Even if you have your tubes tied, that is not as effective as IUDs.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I. So it's pretty amazing, and Dr. Monga talks about just that.
Oftentimes we see a mismatch in what women are choosing and what their needs are. So oftentimes, you know, it would be very important for them not to be pregnant, but they're using methods that have higher failure rates. So ones that require a lot of consistent and correct use for them to get good success with that, which is sometimes difficult for women to do. And I think people would be surprised to hear that, you know, in Canada today, that 1 in 4 pregnancy ends in an abortion. And I think that really tells us that there's still lots of unmet needs around contraception.
Wow. Doesn't it? Okay. 1 in 4 pregnancies is still ending in abortion in Canada. So let's be clear, an unwanted pregnancy, whatever a woman decides to do, is a life-changing event. That's a life-changing decision. And Dr. Monda uses the analogy, if you were requiring treatment for cancer, for example, and the doctor said, you know, this drug is 20% more effective than this other one, well, of course you're going to choose the one that's 20% more effective. So we're just not thinking of birth control in that way, and that's something that Dr. Monga really passionately believes we need to do. We need to change the way we're thinking about birth control. Also, the woman of today is very different from the woman of, say, like the 1960s when the pill was invented. So even things like technology, you'd think, you know, that's really helping us, but Dr. Monga says not as much as we may think.
There's definitely lots of phone apps that you can help track your period and that sort of thing and help for fertility. And there's also apps that can help to remind you to take a birth control pill or even an alarm that you can set. And I think what that really tells me is that women are having trouble kind of taking their birth control consistently if it's requiring daily use or use every time that they have intercourse. And there's been lots of studies that have shown that even despite these reminders that women do still miss a significant number of pills if they're having to take them every day. And so we know that compliance is a huge issue when it comes to sort of how effective the birth control pill can be.
Right. Exactly. We do all know this. And this is why we're really starting to see a shift in the medical community. They're all talking about now, they're called LARCs, and that stands for long-acting reversible birth control options. So things like the IUD. So for example, there are 2 options of the IUD, a copper one that has no hormones in it or a hormonal one. And there's also a subdermal implant, but that's not available in Canada. It is available in the US, but not available in Canada. And so they're really giving these things as an option to women because they work for so long. An IUD, for example, can be implanted and it can stay in there depending on the option you choose from 3 years to 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's long acting.
It.
Exactly, so you don't have to think about it. The compliance is much better. And then when you're ready to start your family, you simply take it out and your fertility returns. So this is where the medical community is moving, and we just want to raise some awareness about these options. It's really about finding what's going to work for you at the right time in your life.
And I know you have more on your blog.
I sure do. It's all on my blog. You bet.
With helpful links, breakfasttelevision.ca. Health specialist Leah Sarich, thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome.